restart the stream. Waiting for the ad to be done.
This is a merger. You need me.
You need me, and I need an answer.
Then it's peanut butter group and chocolatey, 50-50.
We'll iron out those details later.
The business world was rocked of the peanut butter group and chocolate.
It's peanut buttery, it's chocolate, it's going to change everything.
I hate waiting for commercials. Testing. I hate waiting for commercials. Testing. I hate waiting for commercials. All right, say something, Yield.
Yo.
All right, say something, Yield.
Yo.
Okay, we are good. I'm going to change that scene. Intro. Okay. Your Audacity up?
Yeah.
All right. Start hitting record.
Okie dokie.
And I'm good. 5 seconds of silence. Five, four, three, two, one. Welcome, everybody. This is Trophy Whores, episode 641, and that makes 2 weeks in a row you get me as your host tonight, Matt. And this is going to be a little bit of a demure stream, as you may call it. So, as we made the announcement last week, unfortunately, Tricky's mother had passed away, and he's had a very long and stressful week and a couple other things going on. And again, we can't send our love more than enough to him. And he decided to take the night off, much needed rest and relaxation. And as a result, we want to make sure the show went on. And you have me as your host tonight. Who you do not have here also is Alex. He has some event that evidently is more important than recording. Just kidding. I know he's out at some rock fest, which is awesome. So I hope he's having a great time. But what we do have here tonight is Yield. How you doing, Yield?
Not too bad.
Is Yield. How you doing?
The Bengals won, so I'm in a better mood.
Well, I mean, the Bengals winning is pretty much, your highlight. And we got a lot that happened this past week, but, I know we have our agenda, Yield. There's a couple items that we're going to want to cover with it. And, thank you for the note in the chat. We will just, briefly go over the state of play. But in the meantime, before we get kicking off the trophies, how are you? How was your week?
I dealt with a lot of dumb this week, so I was really glad that Friday got here because I had had enough.
I'm with you there. I got a little bit of bad news in the way of, we had this new. Let me rewind back. A couple months ago, I got a promotion, which means I left my old position behind, but that job still needed to be done. So I've been doing the tasks of that job as well as my new role. Months go by, we finally send an offer out to a new hire, and a day before he's supposed to start, decide to renege on his offer, and left us without that position filled. So we are now going back into the entire recruitment process again.
Awesome.
So,
and
there's
Matt's
that.
still playing double duty.
And I'm still playing double duty. But, that's fine. I'm used to it. I can handle it. What I can't handle actually at the moment is whatever my trophies were. I can't. Can you do me a favor and go over Tricky and Alex's trophies and then yours while I look up mine?
Okay. I've updated it on the show notes.
I could have sworn I made. Oh, you know what? Maybe I didn't earn any new trophies because I didn't play.
According to PSN profiles, you did not.
Okay, well then screw it. All right, Tricky has level 958 with 33,789 trophies and platinums of 976. Alex is at level 510 with 10,131 total trophies and 178 platinums. Yield yours, sir?
I am at 518 with a trophy count of 10548 and a platinum count of 196.
And as Yield so eloquently put, I did all of jack shit this week, and therefore I am level 220, 1,318 trophies and 0 platinums. But I'm fairly certain I did get a new achievement. Let's see, that was September. Oh no, that was a while ago. I didn't get anything there. I've gotten like no new achievements or trophies this week. That's fairly disturbing.
That's all right. It happens.
Mainly because one of the things I was playing, or most of the things I was playing, don't have trophies or achievements. So just, we'll go into that in a minute. Sid is level 116 with 320 trophies and 4 platinums. And a reminder that he has started a new profile. So building up from on his own, and we appreciate that. So I hope you're doing well, Sid. Beyond that, really not much else to report out on. We do have a bunch of news, but in an effort to improve what we're doing and what we're talking about on the show, we're going to spend a bit of time on what we've been playing. So Yield, let's go with you.
So it's not as exciting as last week. I feel like I'm entering a rut again, but I did some World of Warship Legends. Just like I said, I got a bunch of days of premium a week or so ago. And so I've just been working on my bureau projects, play a couple of games, help my bureau projects along. And then there was a couple of extra missions that they had thrown in where you could earn some freebie crates. So I was like, oh, well, okay. And what turns into like maybe a half hour, 45 minutes of gameplay, I end up playing for a couple hours. So I think I'm to the point now where I can just focus on my bureau projects and be in and out real quick, which is good because I've got a bunch of other stuff I can play. I've been playing Helldivers 2 on and off, working through getting everything in the latest War Bond. Been playing, I don't know, 3 matches or so every night or every other night, kind of complete the daily, get my daily medals, and then purchase some stuff out of the War Bond. Been playing a lot of Leisure.
Before you move on, there was something I wanted to talk to you about, and
right.
it's a Reddit thread that came up, and it's about Helldivers,
All right.
where players who've been wanting a PvP mode have been making their own PvP in the game, where what they do is they clear all the objectives, and then they'll all spread out to the 4 corners of the map, or 4 corners of whatever you consider a circle. And they literally do last man standing wins, where you all now have to get to the ship. And obviously your goal is to kill each other. Now, obviously reinforcements and bug breaches, things like that could ruin it a little bit. But essentially they've made their own PvP mode for them to be able to enjoy, purposefully killing their friends now, as opposed to accidentally.
I mean, I guess if that's your thing, that's your thing. I guess I could see where Helldivers could be a good place to do that. I'm more of a team aspect gamer in that situation because I am never good enough. I don't feel like I'm good enough to play a PvP. And I always get mad when people are doing the jump shots and those are still killing people, or one-shotting sniper rifles and not even scoping. It's like, then it shouldn't even be accurate. But that's just me and how I want to play, or how I like to play games. So, I mean, if that's what they're doing, awesome. Good job. But definitely not my cup of tea.
Okay. Well, it was just one of the things that I saw that people were doing, that they kind of are making their own fun in the game.
The only problem I have with that is, what do you do when the pickup isn't in the middle of the map? Someone's going to have an unfair advantage to get to the pickup first. I guess then you have to defend it.
Yeah, you got to stay alive because, I mean, again, it's last man standing, every man for himself. And, you know, at that point, they could nuke your entire area.
That would be interesting. But I never complete missions in enough time to be able to be like, okay, everybody go to the corner of the map and let's fight.
Yeah, I guess I wonder what the selected mission they prefer is. You know, I think something like Breach, which has so little, or Blitz was it where they have so little time, they've got to do everything in short order. But you can quickly close bug holes as you're going to your corners of the map.
That's true. I mean, unless all of your guys are really, really good, you know, to close a map in enough time, because normally, because we're always playing on like 4 to 6s, especially now since they've lowered the super samples down to 6. We were kind of playing 4 to 7. Unless everything clicks, most of the time, you know, we're finishing a map with 5 minutes or less. And that's, okay, we're now calling in the Pelican and it's 5 minutes to go. You know, the other night, but we were playing on a 4, we knocked stuff out pretty quick and we had, I don't know, like 10 minutes left. And we were like, all right, let's make sure we've found all the points of interest on the map and get all the samples we can get, because we've got 10 minutes left. We might as well split up and really look over the map to make sure we've got everything, since we got time. But most of the time it's like, oh crap, there's 2 minutes to go. Let's head back and make sure we get all of our stratagems called in and get somewhat of a defense ready for the mad rush that comes when you call the Pelican in. But maybe we're just not good enough. I don't know.
Yeah, like I said, it's people making something out of, you know, a game that there is no official mode. So it's just one of those things. It's kind of like, you know, back in the TF2 days, people made a map called Pyro Volleyball. And it was after the Pyro had been given his air blast, and a soldier would launch a rocket between 2 Pyros, and they would air blast it back and forth to try and, you know, just play badminton essentially. But it's just, to me, it's just interesting as people take a game that they love and they develop their own fun parts to it. You know, developers sometimes look at that and go, maybe we could do something with that. So just something to pick your brain on, but you can continue on with the rest of what you've been playing.
Fired up some Lawnmower Simulator the other day. Worked on it a little bit as I, you know, work towards that platinum. And then I've been playing some Leisure Suit Larry. Wet Dreams died twice. Again, I play it. I get stuck. I pull out the guide. I found myself a little bit more just going towards the guide, because as much as I enjoy the crude humor, I'm kind of done with it, so to speak. And I'm just kind of like, okay, I need to do this, that. And then when I kind of get myself into like a part of the game that's kind of a bigger area where you can try to figure stuff out, I kind of quit looking at the guide and okay, let's try this, let's try that, and then I go back to the guide because I get bored again. So,
well, what system is that Leisure Suit Larry on?
What system? I'm playing it on the 4.
And it was a 4 game, or was it a retro game?
No, it was a 4-game.
I've lost track of all the Leisure Suit Larrys.
Well, so have I. This popped up one time on sale. You could get both games for, I don't know, $5 or $10. And I was like, all right, I remember playing one on the 2 or the 3, and it was really funny, and why not? So didn't earn a lot of points this week in the trophy competition because Leisure Suit Larry is all commons. So not a big point score for me this week, but that's okay. I'm trying to get another game check marked off my list.
And before you continue on, just saying hello to the people in the chat. We got Saber, we got V, we got Dexpack. Tricky for a little bit, though I think Tricky is going to bed soon. He needs his rest. And then that's it. That's all we have in chat tonight so far, but I'm sure other people will stop in and out. And no, Saber, JP had something else going on that he couldn't make it tonight, so we'll reschedule that. What else you been playing, Yield? Anything?
No, that's pretty much it. Kind of, those 4 games.
Okay.
I hadn't even played Rocket League this week. I'll probably do that Monday or Tuesday because I got to get my weekly stuff done to work towards that season goal.
I keep seeing something about people are pissed because they feel like Epic just killed Rocket League. Did they make some sort of change?
I don't know. Not that I've noticed. They've been doing a lot of more collaborative stuff. Like they had a little section where you could earn Puma stuff. It's like Puma sponsored stuff, and it was just kind of like, okay, boring, but you get your money where you get your money. And the last couple of seasons, while some of the designs that you can get for your wheels, your goal scorer, some stuff like that have been cool, the cars have been like sponsored cars. Like I think it was a BMW. I forget what kind of BMW. And then they've also had what was the other one? Man, maybe it was a Nissan or something. And I'm just kind of like, why again? You're getting your money where you can get your money. I'm less impressed with it.
Okay. Yeah, no, I just saw some things that popped up recently, and it was like, thank Epic for killing off Rocket League, and I wasn't exactly sure what that meant, because
unless it's because they're tied in with Fortnite now, I don't know.
I just, again, you all know, the listeners know, that is not my bag, so I have no idea what's going on in that in that world. But as long as you're still enjoying it.
Yeah, well, and the reason I still play it is because a lot of times we'll get together on Thursdays, and us and the guys, or me and the guys will play. So, but this Thursday, none of us got together, so I need to dive into it Monday or Tuesday before it resets for the next week.
You know, every time I look at it and I go, I should really play that again, because I think I had it on PlayStation Plus on the PS4, as I think most people did. But every once in a while it goes on sale. But the problem is, again, it's on Epic Game Store as opposed to Steam, and that's a whole rigmarole of whether I want to support that or not. And then I look at high-end players and even maybe some mediocre players, and I go, yeah, I can't mimic any of that. There's no way in hell I'll be able to play that game.
Don't feel bad. I've ran across a few guys, well, more than a few, that do all that fancy flipping, flying off the wall stuff, and I'm not that fancy. Like I can get into the air and do some things, basically just to cut off the ball or to drive it down the field, but I can't chase it up the wall and then fly across the field, flipping my car and bouncing it and then flip it into the goal. That don't happen.
Dex brings up a good point. Is it free to play? Maybe you're right, Dex. I can't remember.
What's that?
Rocket League.
Yeah, Rocket League's still free to play.
Let's see. Yeah, Rocket Racing. Rocket League. It is free to play. Thank you, Dex. Maybe I'll give it a try to scratch that itch, because I had fun when you're playing matches that there's nothing on the line. People really don't care. and it's just meant to be fun. You know, obviously do they have ranking or do they split it up between rankings and casual, or is it all just?
Yeah. No. You have competitive or casual.
Maybe I will give it a try again, because generally speaking, when I'm in casual, it's a lot more fun.
Yeah, I like to. We've done it a few times, but I've really enjoyed myself when the group gets together. So like it's the guys that play. Gareth will come over. Now, there's been a couple of other guys my brother that works with has come in, and we've gone into private matches, and we'll just every game you randomly pick it. You just random every game, and however many of us is in there, you can't have any more than 8. But the 8 of us, if there's obviously 8 playing, but we all just hit random, and then you're on whatever team you're on, and you play a game, and then you go to the next one. And we're all in one group chat, so we're all talking smack to each other, and that was a good save, and stuff like that. Those are really fun games. Unfortunately, they don't count towards your season stuff, but I've had more fun playing that way sometimes than I do playing against other people.
We used to do something similar back in the day with MechWarrior Online, though you didn't have private lobbies. But the way that the matchmaking system worked for a while, it would generally put people in the same match if you dropped at the same time. And what I mean by dropped is everybody clicks their launch button at the same time. And it was an 8v8 game. So what you would do is you would get the 16 people in our clan, and we all try to sync drop. And if we got in the same match, cool. If not, oh well. And then we just rolled whoever we were going against. But, just from a similar point of view. In chat, we have the bearded nerd, Zach, who's been MIA for a while. Thank you for coming in. And V just says she just watches the channel 3 guys and goes, nope. And that's in response to Rocket League. All right. I have been playing a couple different things this week, and I'm going to try to do my damnedest to remember most of them. But I did a little more Space Marine 2, and I got to the part of the game where the Space Marine gets a Pyre Blaster, which is just a fancy word for space flamethrower.
Are you playing that on PC?
I am playing that on PC, yes.
Okay.
And it is beautiful because you're walking in a section, you got these enemies called Rippers, basically, small mouse-like creatures, and they're swarming, and then a big swarm jumps up in front of you, and you get the prompt to be like, yeah, you're about to get hit. So you got to torture them or jump out of the way. And it's a lot of fun. Just you're like slowly plodding down the hallway and just sweeping the Pyre Blaster left and right to keep the swarms off of you. And, it's beautiful the way it looks. Not just because of the flamethrower, but the scene in general. But that's, there's a lot that they did in this game that is amazing. And it's so much fun, especially when you get with your friends. And that's something Zach just said. And then, that he just started Space Marine 2 with his wife. They love it. And it's cross-play with every console. Amazing for playing with all of your friends. Again, you can play with up to 2 of your friends.
Is it cross-play with PC?
That's a great question. I'll have to look at that, because if it is, we definitely need to get some games on board.
Absolutely, because I am going to pick it up. I've held off because my one friend and my brother were like, well, they want to get it, but they didn't have the money right now. And so I'm like, all right, well, I'll hold off too. There's no sense in me getting it because I want to get it to play through the story co-op. One, I enjoyed the first game. But second is I wanted to be able to, you can play 3 people through the story co-op. That would be fun. And so I was waiting for the guys. But if you can co-op with PC, then I might pick it up sooner, and you and I can start running some.
It says it does. It does it via codes. So we can give that a try.
Ooh, I'll have to pick it up sooner then.
Yeah, no. Let me know when you do get it, and we'll try joining up together, because there's the story missions. And then there's the PvE progression missions where you take on the role of one of the other 3 Marines that help out the main squad. And there's where you get progression and weapon progression and skill progression. And it's a lot of fun because you get to go through like a different part of the game as opposed to just the standard campaign. And it allows you to improve your Marine as you want. There's one Marine that does like, it's very tanky, and using the projector on your back, you actually launch a giant shield in front of you and your battle brothers. And it protects you while allowing you to fire through it. So that's tends to be the roles I play in a lot of these games, is just being the tank and just everybody get behind me and
let's push forward.
Yeah, let's move it. So again, playing that's been a lot of fun. Also put a little more time into Diablo 4 post-season. Or post-campaign with the season that's going on. Not much to report there. Did some more Dead Cells. What did I have on my Steam Deck? I did something recently. Did some more Hades 2 runs. Hades 2. So the wonderful thing about Hades 2 is that there's two parts of the game that I've gotten to. Is you have the underworld and the overworld. And I just got to the part where I was able to unlock the overworld and go through that without dying very quickly. So I did that. Did some more, not a lot, but some Monster Hunter. Again, I mentioned I played with some Channel 3 guys a couple weeks back. Did some very difficult monsters there in Monster Hunter Rise. You haven't gotten back to World, have you?
No, I'm waiting on my brother and his friend.
Okay. Because that's one of the things that I keep thinking about is I have World, but I didn't get Iceborne. And if you guys are just doing the... if you're just doing base, I might be able to jump in there. See, because I probably still have my save. Where I've beaten the Elder Dragons. I can't remember if I beat the game or not. But anyway, I could always assist with that if you need a third or a fourth.
Okay.
Then again, did a little Helldivers, not much there. Again, just playing to get some super samples and logging in for the medals. So I did finish out. I forgot if I mentioned last week, but I finished out the Freedom's Flame War Bond. Got everything there that I needed to.
Ooh, nice.
Then the other two big things that I've been playing is I decided with The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom coming out, I realized I had never beaten the Link's Awakening remake from 2019. And I decided it was time to just go back through. I used a guide. I was like, I'm not wasting time going around. But I spent the better part of Friday and Saturday finishing up that game because I had finished 6 of the 8 dungeons in that game. And then even went back to do the color dungeon, which at the end you get to choose whether you want a cloak that gives you more attack power or more defense. So I chose defense just to make sure that I can survive the oncoming onslaught of the nightmares in the final battle. So I spent a better part of Friday and Saturday playing that, so that way I can finally get to what I truly wanted to get to this week was Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. So for those of you who don't know, this is a game that was released and by Nintendo, and it's the first, I should say the second, because I think it was either Wand of Gamelon or Faces of Evil on like the CDI that you could play as Zelda. So this is like one of the first times you really get to play as Zelda on a modern console. And you start off playing the game as Link and you fight what's supposed to be Ganon. And that's when the rifts open, and in your final act, you get to shoot an arrow that frees Zelda from her prison. As you leave the area as Zelda, because you're playing as Zelda throughout the game, a couple different things happen, and you come upon this spirit called Tri, and he gives you the Rod of Wisdom. And basically what that does is it allows you to copy things in the world. And then you could place those things in the world to help you solve puzzles, to combat enemies. So if there's like a wall that's too high, you put out an echo of a trampoline and use the trampoline to get higher. If there's enemies, Zelda doesn't really have her ability to fight herself. And what you do is you actually can kill enemies that you get an echo of, and you put them out there to fight your battles for you. So for instance, I have like a Moblin that launches spears, or I have a Keese that I can put 3 of them up in the air and they start fighting and hitting enemies for you. There are a couple other things that you could do. That you get like a sword master mode, but it's based on an energy bar, and it doesn't allow you to fight very long for it. It's mostly just kind of like get out of jail free type item. So then you have traditional dungeons. So I hope Tricky will be happy with that, because you actually have to go in and go through dungeons just like a traditional Zelda game. And then you have things called rifts that you go in, and they're kind of like more like the shrines from Tears of the Kingdom or Breath of the Wild. And what that allows you to do is you go in and you solve like a quick little puzzle. You get some magic ore that you use to strengthen your sword fighting mode. And it's good so far. The one problem I have with it, and I was hoping that Nintendo had figured something out, but for those of you who remember when Link's Awakening came out as the remake, there were some performance issues. There was stuttering, there's frame rate problems. And while this game is better, there's still very much the same issues that they have, and it's kind of starting to show that Switch's age. Same thing with Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild. They're great games, awesome games, but man, if that system just had like 15% more juice, maybe we wouldn't be getting the stuttering and issues we have with it. But I'm enjoying it. I don't have too many hours in it. It's the perfect little game. It's fun little puzzles. It's interesting because you figure out better ways of doing stuff, and I'll explain it to you this way. I got a Dark Nut Echo, and that's just a big armored character, and he uses an axe to attack. And I'll put him out there, and he'll walk up to an enemy, swing, and then it'll be like, I don't know, like a 5-second cooldown to attack again. But I can bypass that just by casting another Echo, which gets rid of the Dark Nut that you have on the field, and putting another one down, and he basically swings and attacks immediately. Rinse, repeat, so you don't have to worry about just having it sit there and wait to attack. So it's just little fun things like that I'm trying to explore, and what you can do to really figure out the best way to play the game. And I think that's basically it. I don't recall anything else on my list that I've really done this week. Taking a nice little sip of water. So with that said, we're going to do news, and we're going to kind of go a little bit different than what we've done before. And, again, with only Yield and I'm hoping to get, some good conversation out of these, but if not, is what it is. We do have a bunch of listener questions, mostly from Thomas. So thank you for writing those down. So the first article we have today comes from Insider Gaming, Grant Taylor Hill. And you remember Days Gone, Yield? That
I do.
Zombie game that came out?
Oh, you mean... No, Days Gone was PlayStation's zombie game.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. This was the day before.
Day before. I know. I remember talking about it.
Yeah. Well, Concord decided it wanted to beat the day before's retirement launch, because this was a game that came out, I think it was December last year, and a game, the devs Fntastic.
There was a lot of controversy behind it. Yeah,
people were calling it a scam, when in actuality, it just seems like the devs were making promises that weren't being kept and really weren't able to back up. Well, they shut down the game like a matter of weeks later, and then said, we're shutting the game down. We're shutting down servers. We're shutting down the studio. The studio's done. We're gone. And now they're back. They're evidently launching a new game on Kickstarter. They're talking about that they think, everybody deserves a second chance. Just give us a chance to prove it. And they're asking for $15,000 to make this new game called The Escape Factory. I don't know anything about it, but so far it's raised $11,000 of the $15,000 that they need.
Well, I mean, either people are dumb, or people following this group has seen enough of Escape Factory that they're like, yeah, I want to pledge my money to it. I mean, I don't know anything about it, so I would have to see something before I'd be like, yeah. But I would be leery considering that the last funded game fell way short.
It makes me wonder, obviously there were actually some people I think who liked The Day Before. And even though it's one of the 2023's biggest disasters, I think they might have enough of a cult following that people are like, all right, yeah, I'll get in on this. I don't know how much they're asking for on individual backings, but the fact that, again, that they have 11,000 to 15,000, and this is an all or nothing backing, meaning that if they don't raise the full 15K, then everybody gets the money back, or things aren't charged until they reach it. So I don't know. It just seems weird to me that this dev, which was broiled in controversy, I mean, if you're going to do something, form a new group. Don't be anything related to what you were in the past.
Right.
So, speaking of, not being anything like they were in the past, Rocksteady's still plugging away at Suicide Squad. And what they introduced now is they're going on to season 3. And you remember how many seasons I said that they're not going to bypass?
3.
I actually said 4.
You said 4? Okay.
I said 4.
So we're now 75% of the way there.
Yeah, I don't know what I'll do if I get proven wrong, but it's one of those things. Like, I'm surprised they're still plugging along. And evidently they introduced, how season 1 had the Joker. Season 2 was Mrs. Freeze, I think it was.
Yes.
And now they're introduce a race-swapped version of Zoe Lawton.
Which I have. Who is this?
In my notes, you'll see I said, okay, seriously, who is this and why?
I don't know who this person is in Batman lore.
I imagine if people who were into Batman and DC might be. Google this. I mean, here's my thing. I know the article is trying to get clickbait by talking about it being a race swapped version, and the problem there is people get race swapped all the time. I mean, look what happened to Kingpin in the Daredevil movie, and that is certainly not one of the reasons that movie was horrible. But it's, you'd think. Now, I know in the development cycle, the choices are made well ahead of time. But why, if your game is struggling, do you not just expedite, a more popular character?
Okay. So Zoe Lawton is the daughter of Deadshot.
Okay. I got nothing for this.
I got nothing for this either.
How is this supposed to get people back into a game? I've already said that the characters are people that, except for maybe Harley Quinn, nobody really cares about. So
you are correct.
Yeah, I don't know. That's weird. That's very weird. Moving on, because that's not worth spending any more time on. Did you watch any of the Tokyo Game Show?
I did not watch any of the Tokyo Game Show. The only thing I watched this week, to be honest with you, was State of Play.
Okay. And you'll see on the agenda, I threw some things around and making that our topic of the week. But Tokyo Game Show came and went, and there's been a whole bunch of things that came out of it. And,
was it because I didn't see Facebook light up or anything like that, or any other social. Well, I got Facebook and Twitter, but I never really saw anything like go overly nutsy cuckoo. Well, about any like, oh my God, surprise announcements.
Yeah. So Tokyo Game Show generally is a little bit more low key than some of the other presentations, and they're not doing it for actual announcements. they are there as here's what we got coming. There's really no like surprises, because what it is it's booths. It's everybody set up to display their games. And, we talked about Sony being a presence there and actually showing off some of their games. And we discussed some of that last week. So, there really wasn't a lot, but it was just new stuff that came out. Like for me, we've been watching the coverage in this house about Monster Hunter Wilds and everything coming out there. But this week at Tokyo Game Show, they did a number of different presentations and new news that came out of that game. And there was a new trailer. There was all sorts of, they went in depth with all of the different mechanics of the game, which was a lot of fun seeing. They've got they covered the portable camp system. I mean, you've played World, that you have camps you can go to, right? Well, now you have the ability, you have a limited number of camps you can bring out, because in this game, it's a wide open world. And whereas, you have in Monster Hunter World, you have your map, it's kind of like that, but larger. And you now have portable camps you can put up to go resupply and re-gear. But unlike in World, monsters can find those camps and destroy them.
So you don't have predetermined camps.
Yep. And that's the benefit, is you can go put one wherever you want, whatever serves you best.
But you better find a good spot.
Yeah. And one of the scenes that they show was I think it was Doshiguma, which is like a big bear-like creature, found your nest and just bear swiped the camp off the face of the map. And it was funny. So, it's mechanics like that are going to be interesting. They talked about the new monsters. For every Monster Hunter game, you get what's called a flagship monster. That's the monster that shows up on the box art. And the new monster is featured in the latest trailer. It's called Arkveld, and it is this giant flying wyvern with like these chain-like appendages it can use to smack other monsters around. But then they also reintroduced an older monster called the Kongolala, which is a big ape-like monster, and it inflicts, you probably haven't seen this because it really wasn't in World, but it inflicts stink blight on you. And when you have stink blight, you can't use any items. So if it hits you and you need to heal, you're not able to use that until you use like a deodorizer. You have to use that first to take the stink off you to be able to then use your other items. Okay. Yeah. It's a pretty fairly frustrating type of monster, but people have been calling for it back. So it's a lower level monster. It's not like an end gamer, but it's a fun little thing, even if it is annoying. And they covered things like Metal Gear Solid 3 Delta, which I don't remember. I don't think they redid any of the lines for it. They just took all the audio word for word.
That would be probably a tricky thing, because I don't really follow Metal Gear much. I've kind of, I
mean, it looks beautiful.
It does. I've seen some shots of it, and it looks really good.
Well, yeah, like I said, there was a whole bunch of stuff going on at Tokyo Game Show, and Capcom had a big, long presentation. Everybody else had their own little slideshows, but like you said, nothing groundbreaking as to what came out of it. I think if I do a quick look at the article, I know My Hero Academia is coming to Overwatch 2. There's characters getting My Hero Academia skins for anime nerds out there that might be entertained by that. Indiana Jones got a new trailer.
That's right. Yeah, it's 2 months out, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, no, October, November, roughly 2 months out.
Suikoden 1 and 2 classic PlayStation RPGs are getting their remasters released. I know a bunch of people like that. Dragon Age 3 HD 2D remake is getting hyped up. And yeah, like I said, and you hit the nail on the head. There wasn't a lot of, oh my God, there's something there. But yeah, Tokyo Game Show is still a good time to get coverage on the games you do love. And going to chat real quick, Saber said a number of things, but he said for some reason Dustborn had a booth there, and nobody, he repeats, nobody was interested. I know there's been some controversy around Dustborn recently, so we'll just ignore that game like everybody else does. Before we move on to listener questions, the final thing we want to talk about is Ubisoft in trouble? ? So everybody knows by now that Assassin's Creed Shadow got delayed, and it was originally supposed to be released on November 15th and has now been moved to February 14th. And again, folks,
Nothing says I love you like an Assassin's Creed game.
absolutely. But this is also 2 weeks before Monster Hunter Wilds releases. So if this game had any hope of me playing it, it wouldn't
died.
It wouldn't have been anywhere around. Like, coming out on November 15th, I might have subbed to Ubisoft Plus for a month just to see. But no, not now. No.
Yeah, not now.
I
You're gonna have your diehards, but everybody who's excited for Rise, I know you are, my brother is, his friend is. Yeah, you're gonna get buried just in the people who are going to go after. I'm saying Rise, but Wilds.
Yeah. So I'm actually praying Grand Theft Auto gets delayed until 2026, because with Wilds coming out so early in the year, that's going to be my game for the year. That's all I do. I don't care what else comes out next year. So, everybody's talking about how Shadows was delayed. And there's been some people speculating it's because the dev teams at Ubisoft are trying to go all hands in on fixing Star Wars Outlaws, because they reported that the sales were softer than expected. And there's a couple things Ubisoft is now doing. First and foremost is there's additional content that's coming to Star Wars Outlaws. So the teams talked about new story packs and things that are coming, and that's going to release on November 21st. But there's also this other thing, and this includes what they're doing with Assassin's Creed Shadows, is on November 21st, they're pushing up Star Wars Outlaws release on Steam. They feel like maybe not releasing on Steam immediately hurt some of their sales. And that's extending to Assassin's Creed Shadows, because now in February, that is going to launch day and date on both Ubisoft Connect as well as Steam. So I don't know. I don't really follow the teams, but do you think they have teams from Shadows kind of go support the Outlaws content to make sure that goes off without a hitch?
It wouldn't really make much sense, because you just delayed your game supposedly to polish it. So I don't know. I mean, I know there's been a lot of, I don't know if I want to say hate, but not a lot of love around Outlaws. Tricky really likes it. I haven't gotten to it yet, because I was kind of, he advised to wait until they fixed the little bugs, patched the bugs. And then I've been busy with my other games, so I haven't dove into it yet. I know people weren't happy with the female lead. And I even brought up the fact that it feels off. The character design feels off with the world that it's in. But I was interested in the game because I'm not playing as a Jedi. I'm playing as a smuggler. And that's always, I've always thought that would be fun in the Star Wars universe. So, and it's open world, semi open world, so to speak. And so that intrigued me as well. So I'm still reserving full judgment until I can finally dive into it. But Ubisoft is another one of those companies that it feels like they set unrealistic goals for their games and then blame that for the fact that the game didn't do well. Do we know how much it sold? So far today?
I haven't been able to find those numbers. I don't think that's something that they usually publish.
Okay, so I would be curious as to see what it sold to really determine whether or not it was a failure or not. I mean, see, they didn't do Tomb Raider. They didn't do the Tomb Raider reboots, did they?
Got me. I was never really a Tomb Raider fan.
I just remember every time everybody says, well, this game didn't do as well as we expected, I always go back to the Tomb Raider reboot.
Saber says Tomb Raider was Square Enix.
Square Enix. Okay. So I don't know. I mean, it probably did do bad because, one, people are kind of Star Warsed out, and Ubisoft is not necessarily one of the most beloved companies right now. And there are probably people out there, boycotting because of that.
So here's my input, because I played the game a little bit. I didn't play as nearly as much as Tricky, but I enjoyed what I played. Now, that's coming from somebody who traditionally hasn't enjoyed many Ubisoft games. And I have a wife in the background after feeding Zelda saying hi to everybody. So the thing is, it's a kind of by the numbers Ubisoft open world game, which if you didn't like Assassin's Creed, maybe this isn't the game for you. I personally don't have a problem with KVS. My biggest issue with her is, again, she's down on her luck smuggler, so everything is about money, but it becomes very much about that. Literally one line, somebody asked her to join the rebellion, and she's like, how much you pay? And that didn't go too well for her. Other things I'm seeing is like she's learning more and more to be an outlaw. So she kind of starts off as like a small-time grifter. And then the way I'm seeing it as the game is you're building up her reputation as a smuggler, an outlaw. And you're right, it's not a Jedi, which makes it so much more fun. And this shows how big the universe is, that Jedi just aren't everywhere within the scope of everything you do. I'll tell you, you talk about the stealth sections and those are getting fixed, and the save points and those are getting fixed. I actually have one giant issue with the game. And it's actually something from a mechanic standpoint, from a taking me out of the fantasy, is she has the ability to knock people out as you're sneaking up to them. And what annoys me is she's going up to full helmeted individuals and just doing like a karate chop, and they're getting knocked out. And I think Saber had said this a while ago in one of his threads, where it's like, you could have done something a little different for those characters. Attention to detail, where it's like maybe you take out a stun gun or something and stun them, as opposed to just hitting them in the head, which is a helmet. I don't know. Maybe that's just proving Stormtrooper helmets really don't do much.
Don't do anything.
Except block your vision for your aim. So, I don't know. Like I said, mechanically, that was the only thing I had wrong with the game. Otherwise, I enjoyed the stealth. It did get frustrating. Yeah, and again, Saber says he did say that, and having some form of shock gloves that you can upgrade would have been an interesting take on it. So, I think the game was fine. I don't think it was outstanding. And that's why I'm probably going to wait for a sale on it. And unfortunately, that's the kind of thing that hurts games, because if you're not buying new day one, what good are you? But, unfortunately, when you don't make a amazing game, maybe I'm not going to buy your product day and date. And again, that was the other game I played, Astrobot. I put money into that, and I'm having a blast playing that game. Well worth the entry fee. So, again, does this mean Ubisoft is in trouble? I know there's been some talk about their board doing an investigation and other things that are coming in and out, but I don't know. When your CEO talks about making quadruple A games and then your games don't sell, maybe you rethink your approach on how you're getting your games out there.
Maybe just a little bit.
Just a little bit, Yves. Evidently, he might have a target on his back. We'll see what happens in the coming months. So, with that said, before we get to the topic of the week, we are going to go to listener questions, and a number of them are from Thomas. Pretty much all of them are from Thomas, because Rick asked a question, but it was towards Alex, and you're going to wait for Alex to get back on the show to do that. So, Thomas's first question, this goes back to the Assassin's Creed. He talks about, do you think with the delay that they're going to add the original Japanese male protagonist back in, and I don't think I ever heard that was a thing. And again, there's this whole embroiled battle between Yosuke and what he was or wasn't. Listen, you're going to play a giant man destroying all sorts of little peons out in the field. So I'm happy with that. But I don't know if there's much more to say on that because I don't ever remember that being a thing. You ever hear that, Yield?
No, I haven't. I didn't remember hearing that there was two protagonists. So when I saw the trailer and saw like a different, you were playing as two people, I was like, oh, that's interesting. Because I know the controversy was the Black Samurai. So
yeah, and he, it seems like, is more of the, the Assassin's Creed Odyssey. You're a big badass warrior. Or Assassin's Creed Valkyrie, where you're a warrior. And then Naue is your typical Assassin's Creed stealth mission. So that's kind of where I'm counting on, this game's giving you multiple ways to play. And that's where I'm happy with it. But again, everybody's saying with how long it took them to get here, not only did we get Ghost of Tsushima, but now we're getting Ghost of Yote, which is the next Sucker Punch game coming out. And Thomas's next question is, with the Ghost of Yote female voice actor for English sub being on the fringe, will this affect you only playing in Japanese and not English? I think I know what you're talking about, Thomas, but the end result is I loved Ghost of Tsushima in English. They did a very good job of voice acting, and I'll be happy to play through it in English.
Yeah, I didn't even play through it in Japanese. I played through it in English.
Yeah, so the fun part is that they give you that Karasawa mode as well if you want to play it, and
have an English or English,
yeah.
Not dubbed but subtext.
Well, so the fun part was, and I actually did try Ghost of Tsushima on Japanese at first, but found out the lips were synced to English. And it wasn't until a couple patches later that they gave you a Japanese lip sync to the text going on. So you know how in those old Godzilla movies, they would be Japanese speaking with English and bad lip syncing?
Yeah.
This was the reverse of that.
Oh, okay.
I was like, wow.
That was pretty funny.
So hopefully they have that, day one. That might be fun to actually be able to play through it like that way. Thomas's next question is aimed directly at me, saying, how much money will Matt waste on unnecessary cosmetic upgrades on the new Monster Hunter? And that is 0, Thomas. And why? Because Capcom doesn't nickel and dime you for the fun cosmetic stuff. Yeah, they allow you to get some money. They allow you to pay some money for like silly cosmetic upgrades, but like the true cosmetic upgrades, here's the cool thing. You'll know about this. Based on the hunter you make, you have access to either male armor or female armor. In Wilds, they are unlocking your armor. So male can wear both female and male armor. You just have to have the material to build it. They are letting people go wild with what they want to wear. So that's the answer to that one. Thomas mentioned something that there might be an issue with chat. If there's anybody else in chat, please feel free to type something in to let us know. On a different note, who is good at fantasy football? Tight end Kylie Pitts is garbage. You do any fantasy football, Yield?
I do. My tight end has let me down this year. Laporta has not done me well, but I'm still sticking with him because all the good tight ends in my league got taken. So, but yeah,
I got nothing. I can't.
You got nothing. No. We got my dad into it this year, so that's been fun. Normally, it's just been me and my brother, but so now the three of us, besides texting during football games, we're also texting about, well, how's your fantasy team doing? And my dad's getting into it. I've been telling Dad for years that, since you like watching football, it kind of helps because when you're watching a game that you have no interest in. Like there's two teams playing and you could really care less. Well, if you've got one of those guys on your fantasy team, you find yourself polling for that individual player to break one or run farther or do something, and it kind of makes that game a little more fun. And so he's starting to understand that. So, but no, I don't have that tight end, but I feel you. All tight ends have sucked this year in fantasy football. They have like totally forgotten about tight ends in all of the offenses.
And there is your fantasy football corner for the night. I know nothing. And then Thomas is out here asking again, when do you think the Horizon Monster Hunter style game will come out? I don't think that's actually coming out anytime soon. I don't even know if it's in development the way things are going over at Sony.
I didn't know that there was a...
Well, you remember that they were trying to think about like maybe a Horizon MMO or something like that?
Yeah, kind of.
I think that's maybe what he's talking about. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Not what I'm looking for. Do you have the original Horizon Zero Dawn?
I do.
And do you think you'll be taking advantage of the $10 upgrade?
No.
Even if they have trophies separate from your base game?
If they put it on PlayStation Plus, then I maybe, but no, I have no desire. See, so here's my stand on any kind of remakes or remasters, and I'll get into it again a little bit more when we get into the state of play.
Okay.
I feel okay. No, yeah, I will hold out until we get into the state of play. Okay.
All right. And then finally, Thomas talks about how former head of Sony, that's our boy Sean Layden, is tearing into people, telling people complaining about the female protagonist for Ghost of Yotei, where he says, if you don't like it, don't buy it. So do you think that's something that former executives should be saying?
Probably not publicly, but honestly, we've sat here on the show and have said that for years. If you don't like it, don't buy it. I personally, when it was announced, I was immediately like, oh, it's a female character this time around. Okay. I'm not immediately turned off by that because, a lot of games are going to female leads. So now when I see that, I was like, okay, so obviously this isn't a direct sequel to a Ghost of Tsushima. So I'm curious are we going to tie it in somehow? Or how does this female lead get to the point where she... So now I'm interested to see how we get to where she is and her background and everything. Because even then, I'm not like 100% into Japanese culture, but even at the time of when these games are set, females are not, samurais and stuff per se. So again, it'll be interesting to hear her backstory, how she gets to where she's at. But from what I saw, the game looks on par to Ghost of Tsushima. So, I mean, if you're going to complain because it's a female lead, then you have nothing else to do right now.
Yeah, and Dex in the chat says they thinks they know they're going to make bank on the game, so comments like that really won't hurt the bottom line. It just, if I'm understanding your comment right, Dex, the thing is, it was said by Sean Layden, who's a former Sony exec, so he can kind of say whatever he wants, and
yeah, he's not tied with Sony.
Nobody,
so.
Yeah, what Sony could be like, we don't have a leash on him, we can't tell him what not to say.
You can't say that. Shut up.
And then Saber talks about the timeline of the Ghost of Yotei, which we will get into now that we are going on to our topic of the week. It is everything revealed in the Sony State of Play. So we're going to, not go necessarily the order that was revealed, but I do want to touch on Ghost of Yotei first. And the interesting part here is like it's 300 years ahead, or I should say after Ghost of Tsushima. And
I didn't know that, so that's even more interesting.
Yeah, if you watched the trailer, I think it was 1610 AD, which is when this is occurring.
I must have missed that.
It happened like at the very beginning of the trailer. So I mean, that's kind of why it might have been missed. But as everybody said, you're a female protagonist. You don't know her backstory. You don't know what's going on. And what's actually I find cool is the picture here of her in front of the mountain. She has a I don't know what the actual instrument is, but it's like a banjo. It's a Japanese banjo. And it makes me wonder what sort of like, is that going to have something to do with gameplay? Because I remember Jin in Ghost of Tsushima had his flute, which played a feature in some of the points of interest. You would play the flute to like attract the monkeys or do something else. So I wonder if that's going to have a
that would be interesting.
I'd like when they add little stuff like that. But the trailer prominently featured her in a duel with somebody challenging her and then holding two weapons while facing off in a wolf. And the wolf kind of like, originally growled at her and then they both went off in the same direction. And I know, Thomas, you'll have to tell me what it is in chat, because I remember on your podcast you said something, but it looks like she's holding a traditional sword. And then I thought at first it was a wakizashi, which is a shorter type of Japanese sword. But I think Thomas is right. This one was a little bit longer than that. So that makes me think there's going to be two-handed combat. What do you think, you?
I would be up for that. I'll suck at it, but I would be interested to see that, because I thought the combat, as frustrating as I would get because I couldn't get my character to do what in my head I was thinking I was going to get to do, but when you were able to pull it off, it looked sweet. The combat flowed nicely, and you did feel like you were a samurai. So it would be interesting to be able to dual wield swords.
And it seems like her character's more Ronin-ish than samurai. So we'll see what happens. And Thomas says, around that time is when katanas were invented, that you might have maybe some very primitive rifles in the game because of the timeline. So definitely be interesting to see what route it takes, but I'm all for it. I'm glad. I know a lot of people are actually upset that it's not Ghost of Tsushima 2 and what happens with Jin. I'm glad it's its own story. That's really the only way that I could see them succeeding, because there's just too much from Jin's story that they could possibly mess up by going back to that well.
Well, yeah, and to me, it felt like the story was over.
Yeah, I would actually be pissed if they went back, because sorry, spoiler here, folks, for a how old game now? 5 years?
Probably.
The fight between him and his uncle at the end was, to me, the chef's kiss of ending that game. That couldn't end any other way.
Yeah.
So I was very happy with it.
I agree.
Then Astrobot came out and talked about the time trials that are coming out, as well as some new VIP bots. I know we talked about it before. I'm all about time trials on some of these games. So I'm just playing through the game, just enjoying the levels for what they were before I go back and start trying to speed run some of these.
So they opened the show with this, and I was just kind of like, it's cool. I'm glad Astrobot's getting some stuff. Speed runs aren't my thing, although Astrobot is forgiving for like what you need to get for, let's say, an A or an S ranking. You can make a mistake or two and still have a good time. And so it's not overly frustrating, but I would have been more excited if they would have added more levels, per se.
Yeah, I could see that, but I think there's enough robust of a game there that to Tricky's point from previous weeks, is that I think they should save that for other games, because I think they've got a thing here that they need to latch onto, and they can't make the next Astro game being all about Sony's history and characters there. They've got to start branching them out. On to the next, as we mentioned earlier, Horizon Zero Dawn is getting remastered. There were rumors about this, and it is now officially answered. Coming October 31st on PS5 and PC. If you have the previous version, at least I know on the PS4, you can pay $10 for an upgrade. Unfortunately, what came out of this story also was the game was being sold for $20. As soon as this announcement came out, that price spiked up to $40. I know Sony's a business. That's a cruddy move.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. So this is what I was saying earlier. So we'll get into it a couple of games down. I know the rumors were the day before this, and if you were following the Facebook page, I kind of was live Facebooking, so to speak, as I was watching the state of play. A lot of rumors came out the Sunday, Monday, that this was going to be nothing but a remaster state of play. And so I was ready to burn this sucker down because a remaster to me is something that's old. So we're on to the 5 now. So I'll say anything 2 or back, maybe early 3. So Horizon, no. And I know if Alex was here, if it makes money, he's okay with it. And I can't argue against that. But for me, this game doesn't need a remaster. Sure, it might look a little more pretty, but wait until the 7, until you remaster this game, because then you'll be done with the trilogy. You could do so much more with it. You could bring all 3 games back in a bundle or something like that and make them all look really good now. And I'm not far enough removed from Zero Dawn to be like, ooh, I want to buy it and play it again. If I want to play it again, I'll just put it in my 4 and play it, or put it in my 5 and play it. So I'm not a fan of remaking games that aren't that old. Just a personal opinion.
No, I'm with you there. And that's where we get things like The Last of Us 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 remasters. And, the only thing I will say is Horizon deserves more than what it got. Because they kept getting Zero Dawn came out around Breath of the Wild. Forbidden West came out around Elden Ring. Like, it just kept getting overshadowed. So I'm hoping this gives them the justice it deserves. But you talk about remasters, also announced was, where was this? Soul Reaver 1 and 2 remastered, which...
Now, see, that's how you do a remaster.
It looks good. I'm upset it's not a remake.
That would be better. See, I've never played Soul Reaver games. I've got a buddy who has played the Soul Reaver games. I'm pretty sure he played Blood Omen. And he has, every time we talk about him, he speaks incredibly highly of these games. So when, I forget, chat will remember, when somebody bought this, they bought a bunch of games out of 10 Cent, I think it was, if I'm remembering correctly. That or Embracer. But it's one of those two that they went and bought a bunch of properties off of them. And as soon as they bought the properties, Soul Reaver was one of the properties they bought. They came out and said, we would like to do a remaster. And everybody, you're, ooh, that would be cool. And then that's it. You haven't heard anything about it until the state of play. And so for me, never playing a Soul Reaver game, and I got a buddy who speaks incredibly highly of them, this is probably a day one purchase for me, because I've watched some trailers on it, and I'm like, wow, how did I miss this back in the day? And
yeah,
so
I thought 1 was maybe relegated to the Dreamcast, but 2, I don't remember it being looked back as fondly as 1. But absolutely, it is an amazing game. The voice acting alone was far ahead of its time.
And I want to think, didn't Amy Hennig cut her teeth on this?
Possibly. I don't know. I never followed Amy Hennig's career, but
I don't know. I just
sounds like something.
For some reason, I think she's tied to this. Somebody from Naughty Dog was tied to this.
But the fact that you're getting 1 and 2, and it does look a lot better, and they did a lot on the shadows and light, which was a huge thing in those games. So definitely, yeah, go pick that up if you haven't gotten the chance. Then definitely get it. And again, December 10th, like it's, hey, here it is 2 months from now. Not, hey, here's a remaster of a 14-year-old game, and it's releasing sometime next year.
And it's sometime next year, yeah.
Also,
here's the announcement, and oh, by the way, in 2 months you can have it.
And Saber's in chat saying that he would love to see the Legacy of Kain Defiance, the one where they're evidently both together working to defeat the humans. That series had a good run, and I'm surprised more hasn't been done with it.
And who knows if this does well?
We all say that, but
maybe we get another Soul Reaver game. Yeah, we all
look what happened to Dead Space. Look what happened to a couple of the other ones that came out. We're like, oh, maybe if we support this, then we didn't get jack nor shit. So next one is Lunar Remastered Collection. That's the Silver Star story complete, and Eternal Blue complete. So Lunar 2. I know Joe Priestley is massively excited for this because he was a big Lunar Star fan. I could not care less, but I'm glad people are getting something.
I don't know anything about this game, but again, I wholly support it because it's an old game, and or an old series, and you're getting 2 remastered games. And so, if you're going to do a remake or a remaster, do it on something old that people remember from their childhood. That's like, oh yeah. And you also introduce it to a new generation, not something everybody's already played, and you're not really introducing it to anybody.
Yeah, and there's a couple other things, and we'll just kind of go by them quickly because I'm sure there's more games to get to. But TMNT Shredder's Revenge is getting Radical Reptiles, so you're getting, I think, Mona Lisa and Mondo Gecko as playable characters, which is fun. Sonic and Shadow Generation. So this is the Sonic Generation game that now has Shadow the Hedgehog in, and there's a movie pack tie-in that you'll be able to play as Shadow the Hedgehog in a couple opening missions. And not sure if you knew, but Keanu Reeves is doing Shadow's voice in the movie, and therefore they're doing his voice in these DLC pack-in for the game, which is kind of good.
It's a good tie-in.
I have Sonic Generations. It's fun. It's fun from a traditional 2D, 3D Sonic adventure. Metro Awakening VR for the PSVR 2. I don't think any of us are getting into that. Power World.
Not the VR, no.
No. Power World's coming to the PS5 finally. And it was released day and date that it was announced. Stellar Blade is getting Nier Automata DLC where you get to dress the character as 2B from Nier Automata. Let's see, what else? We got Hell Is Us, which I was very confused about. I don't know what to make of that game.
So you're not the only one.
Yeah.
So that was at the beginning. No, wait, that was Midnight Walk. I'm scrolling to find it.
Yeah,
but
no.
Yeah, there.
The Midnight Walk.
Okay.
That looks interesting.
It does. I remember. So the first 2 games that they dropped was Midnight Walk and something else. And Midnight Walk, I'm like, I didn't know what to make of it. I was confused. Like, I was partly intrigued and partly like, what am I watching?
It looks up my alley type of spooky. But the claymation, like that type of animation style, the skip frame animation kind of makes me, I don't know, it's rough for me to watch. Let's see. We also got World of Assassination for Hitman, PlayStation VR 2. It's been out on VR for a while now. VR controller, or I'm sorry, Fortnite controller, meh.
Yeah.
Fear the Spotlight, which is launching on October 22nd. It's kind of a horror-esque game where you literally have to avoid the light. You think about like nightmare creatures, or not nightmare creatures, Little Nightmares that Alex was playing recently. It's kind of like what I think about that.
Okay.
Dynasty Warriors Origins, which is a Warriors game, meaning it's you against countless enemies that you're destroying in 2 swipes. Let's see, Dragon Age: The Veilguard. I skipped most of this trailer because I don't care about Dragon Age. I tried it in the past, didn't really care for it.
It didn't intrigue me, but I'm not a Dragon Age person.
Then there's also Alan Wake 2, the Lake House DLC coming for Alan Wake 2 that kind of ties it more in with the Control universe as well, since it's all part of that same thing. Remedyverse, I think is what they call it. I haven't played Alan Wake 2, so I haven't
played any of them. So, I mean, for those who like Alan Wake, I'm glad you're getting something.
Yeah, and especially with the tie-ins directly to Control now. Arcade Chronicles, which is like an RPG action game, kind of like, to me, it kind of looks like another Souls-like game.
Yeah. I think that was another one of them games I didn't really know what I was watching.
Yeah, and it really annoys me because I look out there and I go, how many games are out there copying Souls formulas? And I'm like, there needs to be more Monster Hunter games. Like we had Monster Hunter, Dauntless, and Wild Hearts, and that's it. Make more monster hunting games, folks. And then the last things I'll cover, unless there's anything else you wanted to touch on, Yield, the PlayStation 5 Pro got another trailer, but also the PS5 Chroma Collection, so a set of metallic colored plates. You got indigo, some sort of green, and another different type of white, which maybe looks better.
I think they called it pearl, maybe.
It looks better than the standard matte white.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not surprised that there hasn't been some company, unless Sony shuts them all down, that has tried to been able to sell you your own plates instead of having to buy them from Sony.
Oh, well, D-Brand had theirs for a while. If you remember the dark plates, and then Sony sued them. So they called them like Dark Plates 2.0, totally legally distinct plates from Sony.
Okay.
So yeah, there's a whole bunch of I'm sure there's Etsy that you can go to for a whole bunch of that. But those are for the slim models, just as a heads up, not for any of the base models.
So dumb.
And that's all I really cared to cover. There's Towers of Agazba, which is the worst name in the world I could find. I was like, did they just literally try to pick letters out of a hat?
Smash them together, and we just made up a new word. So they showed a trailer for Lego Horizon Adventures.
Yes.
I was like, okay, after seeing a trailer, I still don't think it's needed. But after seeing a trailer, I'm like, all right, I could see me playing it. The only thing that I was annoyed about, and I don't, probably because I want it, is that they had this goofy looking roller coaster that I guess apparently you must be able to make some kind of amusement park in Lego Horizon Adventures. And if you pre-ordered the digital version, you got this goofy little cool looking roller coaster. And that annoyed me because I was like, oh, so now we're doing specific pre-order bonuses for digital copies only. That kind of annoyed me. To me, your pre-order bonus for a digital copy is early access. Because now you don't have to worry about shipping it. You could just release it early online and not have to worry about shipping it early. And then, I don't know, I can't say you broke an NDA because if you pre-ordered it, you got it early. But I don't know. I don't know. Probably because that roller coaster looked kind of cool, and I would want it in my amusement park, and that's why I'm annoyed. But I don't know. It just rubbed me wrong.
Yeah, I try to avoid pre-ordering games when I can, and little stuff like that no longer entices me. There needs to be something of serious value for me to pre-order a game now.
I pre-order. There are some games I pre-order, but still, when I pre-order something, like for Outlaws, I got it from Target because everybody had the same pre-order bonus, as in the cosmetic stuff.
Mm.
Target, I got a free steel bookcase.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that I'm like, all right.
And I was like, okay, I wanted the game. I was buying it anyway. Okay, well, I'll buy it from them because that gives me something that I want. And I'm the same way when I buy collector's editions. What am I getting physically? If you're going to give me a bunch of digital stuff, forget it. I'll just buy the base. I'll just buy the base game and whatever.
It better physically come with the game.
Well, that too. I don't Horizon. Oh, Forbidden West ticked me off about that, but that's beside the point. Which I have a download copy sitting downstairs.
Which I would have loved to buy it for the Tremor Tusk statue, but
that's why I bought it. I wanted the Tremor Tusk statue, and I'm like, but I don't have a disc copy, so that annoyed me. So I went and bought a disc copy. So I should probably give it to my brother. He's got a 5 now. Anyway, yeah, I got a digital code I've never used.
Mm-hmm. Otherwise, again, nothing else that came out of the state of play, and
I will say, all in all, as I was watching it, even before we got to Soul Reaver Remastered, I wasn't floored by it, but I was like, you know what? This is feeling like this is a good state of play. There's more new stuff announced than I was expecting. And then we got to the Soul Reaver, and then we got to, the end of it where they dropped the ghost of
Yote.
The ghost of Yote, which I was like, oh, now that's cool. We had thought we might see something, but we weren't for sure. And so I thought this was one of their better state of plays in probably the last year or so, because there was something for everybody. And they actually showed more stuff that wasn't announced than they normally have. Normally, they show you everything is coming. And then it's like, oh, here's some more stuff we're working on. There wasn't necessarily reveals. Where this one, you had the 2 remasters, the Lunar and the Soul Reaver. You had the Yote reveal. I'm like, wow, this was good. To me, that's what state of plays should be about, is more about, this is stuff you don't know that's coming. And look, this is where we're at with it. The PayPal. Everybody wondered when it was coming to PlayStation. Did I say it right? Pal World. Everybody was wondering about Pal World. And then all of a sudden, here it is on the state of play. And oh, by the way, you can go get it right now. That's, to me, what state of play is about, is those kind of announcements and stuff like that. That's what gets me excited for state of play, not here's a game we talked about a year ago, and yeah, it's coming out next year, and we're working on it. Thumbs up.
Yeah,
but again, that's a personal opinion.
No, I'm with you there. I always enjoy shadow drops, or here's the game and it releases in, even 6 months to me is an acceptable time period.
Yes.
I love Tears of the Kingdom, but Jesus Christ, announcing that game like 4 years in the future. No, I can't take that. No, not again. That's why when Echoes of Wisdom got announced, like, I had no idea. I was like, oh yeah, by the way, Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. Oh, that looks cool. Yeah, releasing in 3 months. What?
Yeah, see, those to me, those types of announcements will drive sales, I think, more up, because you can't get burnt out on it. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's coming out. Ooh, I'm excited. All right, I'm buying that.
Yep.
And you go buy it, instead of, oh, it's in a year, and you make, unless there's a big ad push behind it before the launch, you might honestly totally forget about it. I mean, how many times have we sat here on the show? Oh, such and such game got a firm release date, and it's like, oh, I totally forgot about that game.
Mm.
So yeah.
Depends on the game. But yeah, no, nobody forgets about a Zelda. But yeah, definitely there's other games that go, oh, wait, that's coming out? Oh, interesting. Okay. So yeah, it actually happened to me with Star Wars. And I'm like, wait, when does Outlaws come out? Wasn't this announced like 3 years ago?
Right, yeah.
Well, with that said, we reached the end of another Trophy Horse podcast. Thank you to everybody who was in chat. Saber, Dex, V, Tricky for a little bit. Zach, when you were in here. And we'll just go right into shout outs. So go ahead, Yield.
So I will double Matt's shout outs to everybody who was hanging out in chat. Shout out to Gareth for, as always, throwing me some video game ideas on the down low that he sees. That like, hey, you might like these. A shout out to, and also for his trophy competition. Shout out to Nitro and Alex for Rocket Leagues and Helldivers that we'll go dive in together. Shout out to Prepare to Die or Scum and the Brain 76. Also, those are my main Helldiving buddies. Which did you see that my buddy posted in the Facebook group about why is it when there's trouble you three are involved? And it's the,
yes.
the napalm stratagem and the cluster bomb and the mortar shot. And I'm just like, yeah, because ever since that new napalm orbital is there,
it's so amazing.
Dude, I'll throw it and the guys will be running and fighting and I'll throw it and I turn and start running. And I'm like, you guys may want to move.
I literally did that to a friend. I set it down and go, hey, run.
I did that last night. A bug breach was called. We were playing it. I love them for bug breaches. I'm like, oh, you want to call a bug breach? Here, eat a orbital napalm. And I threw the orbital napalm in, and I turned and I start backing up. I'm the dangerous guy. I'll stand like right on the edge of the orbital. That way, as soon as it's done, you can rush in and clear anybody out. And so I'm backing up. Okay, this is as far as I need to be. And I look as I'm running away. My buddy goes running in a little bit to kind of start fighting them off. And I'm like, you may want to run. And just then the first one hits and he's like, oh,
don't be there.
I need to get away from this. I had one knock me on my butt. Luckily it didn't fry me, but I was too close and it knocked me back. But yep, I love that orbital napalm. That I was last night, I was running orbital napalm and airstrike Eagle napalm. I was running a double dose of napalm and the flamethrower. You'd have been proud.
Man after my own heart.
Yeah, I was like, all right, Bugs, let's do this. But anyway, so shout out to those guys. And if you die by my overzealous offense, I'm sorry. Keep your head on a swivel. And other than that, shout out to all the pimps and out of the whoredom. Thank you for downloading, listening, hanging out with us, interacting with us. Oh, before we get out of here, people listening, I don't think anybody's in the chat who would answer this, but those who listening, like Gareth and Rick, I saw that you guys had played this game. And I think there was one other, but I'm forgetting the name. I, for some reason, came across 2 Point Campus when I was looking through the PlayStation Store over Thursday, Friday, and it's intrigued me. And I saw that you guys have played it, so I want a firsthand sort of take of what you guys think of it, because I was watching the trailer. And it looks like Wallace and Gromit animation of the characters. And I was kind of like, I dig Wallace and Gromit. I like the humor. And the trailer looked kind of funny. And the price was really right. And so I'm like, would this be something I would be interested in? So anyway, you guys out there who've played it, give me a message on Facebook or whatever. And let me know what your thoughts, because I'm curious about it. But that's it. It's my shout outs.
Yeah, Dex is in chat saying that they have to get back into Helldivers, but they did play 2 Point Campus on Xbox, and they loved it.
Okay.
So, Yield, thanks for recording with me tonight. I know unexpected that Tricky was going to need the night off, but he definitely needed his rest. So shout out to Tricky as well. Shout out to Alex. Hopefully you're enjoying the concert. Shout out to, I did forget to mention I played Team Fortress 2 with Ray from Channel 3 last night. We had a Team Fortress 2 event and we cleared house. So excellent job, Ray, and the other Channel 3 people who were in there, Ben Bro and Rad Dad. Thanks for playing with us. It was a lot of fun. We'll do more of those. Shout out to the Channel 3 community. Make sure to go to channel3.gg to gamify your social media. And we are about to end season 10. Or is this season 9? I forget. One of those. New season starts October 1st, which usually means new features, new quests, new games. So definitely make sure to come out to Channel 3 and join. If you want to join, let me give you my link. So I get a little XP, you get a little XP. It's a good start. Shout out to my wife, V, for everything you do on and off the show. And again, shout out to Tricky and his family for their unfortunate loss. But definitely want to make sure that everybody still can provide their feedback on what they want on the show. And until next time, happy trophy hunting.
See ya.
Trophy whores, eject.